Welcome back to the Ultimate Pool Pro Kurt. Well, after the drama of that 6-red shootout, let's find out who will face Rob the Whacker One. It'll be either Dom Cooney or Karl Sutton. Commentary for this one is Mick Hill. He joins Mark Shepherd.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to it. And as Stephen says, what a dramatic end to that previous match, going all the way to the 6-red shootout. Rob Warne prevailing by the narrowest of margins. The quality matchups keep coming, though. Two former World Championship finalists. Dom Cooney was the runner-up in 2019, Karl Sutton 3 years before that. Not a great deal to choose between them, you'd have to say, mate.
No, I think the whole group, you know, I said in the studio before the group started, I thought it was one of the hardest ones to pick. You could have made a case for all the 4 players. And yeah, again, Karl and Dom are, you know, are fairly evenly matched, you'd say. So Karl's going to play the yellow, and then he's going to play the tactical turnover shot, I would think, at the top left, by playing his yellow onto to Dom's red. Just wants to be a little bit careful with the cue ball. He doesn't really want to play this and leave Dom on his awkward red to double across to the other side of the table.
Lost a turn.
So we could well see Dom play the same shot back here by chipping off the edge of his red ball and potting Karl's yellow. Or he could pot the red in the centre and then play the turnover shot. Yeah, elected it this time. So you'd have to say it wasn't a great cue ball from Karl, was it? To allow Dom to take the initiative like that.
Yeah, really, when you hand over the table like that, you're looking to try and get the cue ball tucked up tight somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not that easy from where he was there. That's a great thing about this rule set, though. It's so positive, because even though we've had a couple of those turnover shots, it's just kind of opened the frame up. There's still that cluster on the right, but the rest of the table much more open now.
Well, it's positive tactics. You know, sometimes you watch your league pool and 2 guys are tip-tapping around for 25 minutes with no game plan, just a case of just tip-tapping balls for the sake of it. Get 2 shots, pot your opponent's ball and tip-tap around again for another 20 minutes. There's no progression. Okay, so I believe that Dom played the double there off the top cushion to try and pot the yellow top left, but caught his other red ball on the way through.
So still the problem of the 3 balls clustered. Everything else now looking pretty attractive.
Yeah, Karl's a little bit behind in this frame because he's maybe going to have a go when he's long odds to get them, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it doesn't always pay you to be the first one in, does it?
No,
he's got a decent angle here.
Yeah, he's played a decent shot there to pot the one in the left centre and draw the cue ball across into the cluster of 3, the 8, the red and the yellow. He'd love to hit the 8 ball here and just pop the 3 out. Yeah, I think he hit that with a little bit too much pace. He didn't give the cue ball chance to bite.
Yeah, just arced a bit too much. If he'd
Yeah.
have taken a little bit of the pace off, it would have bitten sooner.
And now, particularly at this rule set, you're in a world of trouble, really, because you know there's so many options for reds. You may see Karl have a little bit of a whack at this.
Yeah, there's almost not much downside, because if he does just turn the table over, as you say, he's going to basically just get into worse and worse positions.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop this and have a bit of a whack here. Yeah. Great effort. Great effort.
Oh, this
and
has
got
come out
reward.
well.
Great effort.
That was a much more difficult shot into it than the previous one that he missed.
Well, yeah, and it was a great outcome, but you've got to get the hit to get the outcome. And that was a super shot to break into those balls from that angle. Back across twice. Yeah, did he get there? Not quite. Not quite. And it obviously doesn't double in the middle, otherwise he would have just dropped that in dead weight. He wouldn't have attempted to go back and forth. So it's a corner double, I believe, here.
Yeah, this is an awkward shot.
Yeah, these either fly in or they make you look, you know, a bit silly, because they can go anywhere at times. Brilliant.
Oh, look at that.
Brilliant.
Well, you said they fly in sometimes, and that
Yeah,
absolutely flew.
absolutely superb.
Break.
That's a kind of typical Karl Sutton finish, isn't it? Sometimes he can just really turn it on and pull out those finishes from places that just doesn't look possible.
Well, I think he can be an underestimated shot maker. I think he's a really good shot maker. Something that's not always talked about in his game.
See a pretty fine pool CV. 2016, evidently a good year for him. European champion and world finalist, losing to his good friend Sean Chipperfield in that world final. 4 UK Tour titles as well.
Yeah, actually knocked me out in the quarter-final that year. 9-5, played superb. Phil Harrison in the semis. And then just fell short against Sean Chipperfield in the final.
Yeah, I mean that year those were the two best players in the tournament by a mile, and
yeah,
Sean just played so well.
I'm ranked 25, but he hasn't had the best of draws, I tell you, this season.
No, I mean you wouldn't expect him. I don't think there are 24 better players than him, although it's a pretty stacked field. So
well, every time I've watched him play this season, he's played Gareth Potts. He must have played Gareth Potts 3 or 4 times this season.
yeah, he's lost to Gareth Potts 3 times in events 4, 6 and 7, so that's not the best draw, is it?
No, and he's made a good account of himself. Certainly the last match, he had a good chance to win, actually, 7-5 the last time they played.
Yeah, he lost in a decider in the last 16 at the last tour weekend.
That's right. So, good break there by Dom. So there's a couple of options. Put the yellow into the right centre. He can either tickle into the red and knock the red out the way, or play directly into the yellow, depending on what angle he's got. Yeah, and he had a lot thicker angle than what he anticipated there, because he definitely would have thought he was hitting the red.
Yeah, you can see from his body language.
Four ball plant, Dom. Yellow onto red, onto yellow, onto yellow. I expect him to get close to this, the way that the yellow to the left-hand side is sat as well. He could play that 50 times and not find that gap.
Yeah, going between the two yellows is pretty unlucky there.
So, Karl. Look at this again. Wow. Try that. You actually try that. You could play that 50 times and that not happen again.
Yeah, any different contact and he somehow knocks the ball in, but that's the only one that didn't.
Okay, so he's got the problem at the top right hand at the table. He could play what we call the skill shot, the red onto the yellow and the red follow it in, which means you continue at the table as long as you pocket your own ball.
Yeah, and the yellow's sitting quite nicely for that. It's kind of in the middle of the pocket, which is what you want.
Yeah, and you've got somewhat of a little bit of freedom and less pressure playing it in this set of rules, because of course if the red doesn't follow the yellow in, you just lose your turn, as opposed to it being a foul in previous rule sets that we've played. So is the freedom of playing it, knowing it, at least it's not a foul if he doesn't make it.
Yeah, this is a perfect position for him, because he can play position for the red if he does make it, but as you say, if he didn't, it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the frame. I firmly expect him to make this though. These are set nicely from the position he's in.
Nicely played. But with having to make the red follow the yellow ball in, he wanted to stop the white, which meant he compromised position a fraction, because he would have liked to have been a little bit straighter on this red ball than what he is. He could play this with a little bit of spin and run off this ball. So he could play it with a bit of spin and run off the edge of the yellow ball, but I don't think he is playing that. Nicely played.
Yeah, he's judged that cannon well on the yellow. looking good so far. He's got a good touch around the table. Got one more delicate shot, but White is naturally coming down this end.
Lost the cue ball a fraction.
Yeah, decided to put all his concentration into the pot, and you can't entirely blame him from that position.
And a pretty big shot, you'd have to say, early on in the match.
Yeah, especially when you see the yellows he's going to leave if he does miss this 8-ball.
It's there. Excellent.
And this is the Karl Sutton that we've seen over the years. I mean, as you say, 25 doesn't quite seem the right ranking for him this season, but
no,
typically he's such a good shot maker.
There's not 24 better players than Karl Sutton, in my opinion. But as I said, and I alluded to it in an earlier commentary, that with the ranking system being new and the ultimate pool being as we are, it's going to take a couple of seasons for the rankings to get their true true reflection on the rankings, because at the moment it's an open draw, or it certainly was before this event. Last season was an open draw, you could draw anyone, so you're in the lap of the gods of, yes, there's no easy draws, but there is some harder draws than others, it's fair to say, that's just how it is.
As we see there, Dom Cooney comes into this match ranked number 8 and is the seed in this match, but really that was all on that last tournament of the season. He'd had one semi-final at the first tour weekend, then he'd had 5 consecutive first-round losses before going on to win the final event of the season. There's no way he'd have been ranked anywhere near that had it not been for that run. So
yeah, and I think with the way that the rankings were done, certainly last season, where the points are effectively your prize money that you've won, and I think with a ranking system like that, you don't have to do a lot to get yourself up the rankings. You win one event and get beat in 7 first rounds, and you're going to be in the top 5, 6. So.
I think it's a good example for all the players, like even if you've had a bad season and things haven't been going well, I mean, he'd been playing well all season, just not getting the results, then suddenly it all comes together at the right time and you can get that win on the board. So he comes into this with a lot of confidence. Since then he's played in the Champion of Champions a couple of weekends ago, didn't have any luck there, lost 4-3 to Shane Thompson in a close first round match.
Yeah, he was actually way ahead in that match, and he had ball in hand at one stage and kind of ended up sort of fluffing his lines a little bit, to be honest with you. It was a match that, he could have won, should have won possibly. So he's just got to mind his work a little bit here, because the 8-ball isn't entirely accessible.
Yeah, so all the red balls in pretty open positions.
Yeah.
He's just got to get his way down to that corner at some point.
I don't really like the idea of leaving this one over the corner pocket or last, because you've not got much window there. But I'm not exactly sure how we can avoid that now.
Extension called.
No, that's sometimes the way, isn't it? The route kind of plans itself just because there's no other option. It's an important frame for him. I mean, watched a couple of good clearances from Karl. He wants to start laying down a bit of a marker in this match.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to say if he was to go 3-0 behind, that would be somewhat of a mountain to climb at this stage.
Well, especially as Karl's, it's not like they've been easy finishes. He's looked in pretty good touch, so you've got to think he's going to carry on like that.
Yeah, and I think Dom actually played on that red. I don't think he played on the double. I think he's just kind of forced to have to play it. Right, now he could gamble here. He could gamble and try and nick the top yellow of the 2 as we look near the red ball, because that would make a bigger gap for the 8-ball, and he doesn't really lose anything if he doesn't hit it. And and he's tried that, and he's had a lovely result there, because it's actually a little bit easier to find the gap from that angle than what it was the other angle. But I do believe he drawed down to try and nick one of those yellows out the way there to make a bigger window.
Yeah, it was made sense to favour that side in case he missed it, which was what happened. Oh, this would be a good shot if he's found that
It's
gap.
an excellent shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big gap when you look at it, is it?
Excellent shot.
Taking those out nicely. Well, very good standard of play. A smile from both players as Dom goes back to his seat.
Yeah, and sometimes I've had many conversations about our great game and I think sometimes the skill level can be lost sometimes, and this is a real good indication of that there. That is a much more difficult shot than it looks, that the viewers would even contemplate realising. The table's like lightning. He's 2-0 down. Not showed amazing touch to get to that point, and to find that gap was a lot better shot than what you would think at home, I'm sure.
Frame 4.
And so much riding on it as well, because you just slip halfway behind one of those 2 yellows and suddenly you lose the frame. So he's got himself back into the match, and it's Dom that now breaks off in frame 4. Good solid break.
Nice.
You can hear the balls raining into the pocket. Came slightly off the side of the front ball, but a pretty good connection with the pack.
They couldn't wait to go in, could they?
No, that's sometimes the way. It's not always the ones you catch absolutely head on. Sometimes you can just come a hair off straight and that you get a better result.
So I like the red balls here. Drag the cue ball to where he's cueing now on the left-hand side. Got into the cue ball a little bit much there, a little bit too much. But it may work in his favour, because in potting the one in the centre, he'll nudge into his red ball, which might be a better ball to help him with the one on the right-hand side.
Yeah, you can see he doesn't love it, but as you say, this may actually turn out okay.
Yeah, could do him a favour, we'll see. Did it do him a favour? It did. Did it? Well, I take that back. It kind of did, and it didn't, because unfortunately it doesn't look like both reds go to the bottom right. So he just wants to mind his work a little bit. He could play it now and land on the awkward one into the centre.
Yeah, I mean, that would open up both of his problems in one go if he could do that.
Yeah. No, he's gonna play the other way. Okay. I kind of liked him to drop the one bottom right there, and play on the tricky red into the centre. With this one, he's playing now as the connecting ball.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem with doing it this way is you're sort of going up and back, and it's hard to get on the last ball.
Well, it's okay if the red passes the one nearest the hole. Yeah, so he's going to play the tricky one last. That's fair enough, you know. It's,
yeah, I mean, this links up well with the 8 ball at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. That's how he's seeing it. And
we're very results based here in the commentary box. If he clears them up, it'll look like the right shot.
Yeah. Again, there, you know, it's personal preference, but there was a case of coming back and playing the red into the same pocket.
Yeah, it looked like he'd got quite a good angle just to screw across the face of this one, but he's equally got a good angle to take it across the table.
Nice.
Yeah, it's landed nicely.
Just wants to concentrate on this one and give it a proper due care and attention.
So, a fourth good clearance in a row. It's been solid stuff from both players. The last couple of clearances haven't exactly looked easy. It's always felt like there's been a couple of slightly difficult things, but he's been up to the challenge each time.
Yeah, well, I guess the situation there was he landed a little bit, you know, finicky on his second ball, and it turned out to be a little bit of a blessing for him with with the outcome in Cannon in his red ball.
Karl would dearly love a good run in this tournament. This is although it's the last match of the year, as it were, last tournament of the year, this is being billed as the beginning of the 2022 season. So I'd love to get the season off to a good start and put some of the difficulties of last season behind them. Meanwhile, Dom seems to have just got a little bit of roughness on the edge of the tip. He's just trying to file off between frames. So the score's levelled up at 2 apiece now. Well, good news and bad news there. The last ball rolling's found the pocket, but the white's not ended up too good.
Horrible. Wants to play a red, can't see one. May have to go yellows, doesn't want to. He'd dearly love to be able to just tap the cue ball and just nestle it there, but I don't even think that's an option for him. I mean, you really don't want to be going yellows here.
No.
If that pops off the rail, he's half a chance. He can play the yellow top right and come down and break into the 2 awkward ones.
Yeah, if that cue ball had just bounced a couple of inches further off the rail, this would have been so much easier.
Yeah, because these are difficult to control. You desperately want to try and get the bite on the cue ball, but you can't hit it too hard because it just jumps forward. Yeah, there was nothing particularly easy about that, in all honesty.
He's not going to mind the outcome, though.
Well, I think it's a little nudging behind the red, flick off the red and back in behind it again. So I don't think it's that much of a use to him, to be honest with you, Mark. So even though he's in a snooker, he has to hit a cushion after contact. There's no total snooker called in international rules. So he must strike a cushion after contact.
Yeah, which basically means he's going to have to hit it a bit firmer than he might otherwise. Ooh, he's missed altogether.
Okay, so Dom ball in hand. I see him playing the red in the middle of the table, in off the yellow, and opening this red in the bottom right-hand corner. So the red next to the 8 ball in hand, and he plays it in off the yellow. Okay, he's electing to play this one off the yellow. The only thing with this one is the yellow could come back and hit this red. That wouldn't be the case with the other red. No, it's okay.
Yeah, it wasn't far off hitting it.
Not far, no. I personally may have elected to play it in off with the other red, but you know the principle's the same.
Yeah, so the frame now opened up as a result of that shot.
So just want to take a little bit of care here, and that's not ideal. I think he would have liked to have been a little bit straighter, because I think he wants to play the one down the rail after he plays this shot. And I think he may have to play the one nearest the pocket. If he could have played the one down the rail from a lot straighter after this, he then plays the one he's going to play, stuns into the yellow, and he's out of there.
Yeah, even though he can pop the one down the rail, that doesn't really afford very good positions. So
Not now, it doesn't. He's going to have to play this one, and then the one down the rail. Yeah, and he didn't really want to do that. So we can't tell on our screens whether he can get at that red. From where he's looking now, he must be able to.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much room to play with from where he's pointing, but he's already played one very good positional shot into a tiny gap a couple of frames ago.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot at 8-ball pool just to kind of put yourself in a tricky position that maybe you didn't have to be in, you know, just by just that little bit of care.
Yeah, because suddenly this isn't anywhere near as easy as it might have been.
I still expect him to get out from here, but it can go wrong. because now he's got to try and get onto the 8. It doesn't go into the same pocket. So he needs to hit something here, you'd think, to stop the white. And you see, if he gets straight on the one on the rail 4 shots ago, none of this happens. We shall see if on this occasion it will have any bearing on the outcome or not.
Yeah, I think you're trusting to like a bit in playing this shot. You can't quite guarantee where the white's going to end up.
Well, he can either play to hit the yellow ball, or he can play to hit the 8 ball, depending on what angle he's got. It looks like the yellow. Good shot. Good shot.
Yeah, it feels like the last 3 frames have been a similar tale. There have been moments where he's slipped out of what we might have considered to be completely optimum position, but he's kept going each time. And another good clearance. 3 in a row now for Dom Cooney. Starting to get a bit dispiriting for Karl. He got off to a good start. Looked very good after the first 2 frames, but he's been frozen out a bit since then.
Well, I mean, he's broke off there, made a ball. Had to go the set that he doesn't want to go. Knowing really once he has a go, the frame's pretty much gifted to his opponent, and it's no real fault of his own. The ball's dictated to him what he could do, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was almost more frustration than if he just had a dry break, and he probably wouldn't have thought about it if Dom had just cleared up. But because he played the first shot, it's doubly frustrating.
Yeah.
Good finish in the end. Found the right angle there just to leave a route through to the slightly guarded final row.
I think from Dom's perspective, he's just started to find his feet on this Pro Series. You know, he's just starting to show what he's got.
Well, he's always been a player that's capable of sequencing things together. The year that he got to the World Championship final in 2019, when he lost to you, he'd won 14 matches en route to that final.
Did he really?
It's an enormous run.
Yeah.
You, I imagine, have played slightly less, being the seeded player into that draw.
Yeah, 5, I think.
1, 2.
I'm not sure if that run went to... I don't know if he'd played in some sort of He'd obviously played in the qualifying section of the tournament itself. I don't know if there'd been some sort of pre-qualifying event he'd played even to get to Blackpool, maybe before that. But it was a great run that year, and that showed what he's capable of. I think a lot of people weren't really seeing him perhaps at that level before, but that really put his name on the map.
Yellow into the centre for Karl and try and make something happen. Yeah.
Yellow ball's in play.
Not terrible, but I suppose could have been a fraction better. He'd love the yellow to go through the reds and into the right centre, because he could play on that one next and then draw into the red ball. That isn't the case, so he's just going to tuck up. Okay. If he was going to tuck up there, I think I'd have liked him to have played it the other way and gone underneath the 8 and the yellow, as opposed to underneath the yellow there, but that was how he saw it. Maybe he could reach over better that way. But I think underneath the 8 and the other yellow was the slightly better snooker option there.
Extension call.
Just needs to get himself back into the match after watching Dom reel off the last 3. Karl just wants to get some kind of decent opportunity at the table.
I think Dom's just got to try and spoil something here, just kind of... Yeah, there wasn't a lot he could do. Karl may play the same shot again here, but I'd still rather him go underneath the 8 and the yellow. Yeah, that's the better shot. That's the better shot, because you develop the yellow, you develop the 8, and you kind of squeeze him a little bit more that side, where it's trickier for reds to do anything now. I kind of like that last time, but this time, you know, it's the same principle as it's turned out. Because Dom's pretty much hasn't got a shot here.
Yeah, I mean, the reds that he can hit, it's just not really going to help him very much. He's still going to leave Karl right in amongst them.
And that's if he hits it. He'll take that.
Yeah, he will take that. That's about as good as he could possibly have hoped for from that position. Yeah, I mean, the
But
priority there was just hitting a red. It was a little bit lucky that it went up that end, but
he's
take
got
the
this.
outcome.
Carl's got time on yellows. You know, he doesn't need to do anything hasty. In the international rules, you haven't quite got the control and command of the table that, for those viewers out there that say play world rules, for example, yellows are in a real big spot here. So play off the yellow and into the other yellow. And I wonder if that... well, that's not the best executed shot Karl's ever played. I bet he couldn't have imagined opening that bottom left-hand corner pocket up before he hit that ball.
No, I mean, with that one shot, he's actually turned things around quite significantly in this frame.
Yeah. These reds are there, to be honest.
It's a kind of innocuous shot he played. You couldn't see too much going wrong with it, but...
He'd like a kiss on that red, and he's got it because he can now play the red. He can either play the red and draw into the two reds, or he can play the red off the yellows and may even open the 8-ball up for that pocket.
Yeah, he's suddenly, from being in a really difficult position, he's got a surprising number of options.
There you go, okay, on this occasion. But has he got the red in off the yellow again?
Yeah, he's got a pocket for everything apart from the 8 now. So
yeah, on another day that yellow could have pinged out, and
still he's got time. Having 5 balls on the table is helpful. Although, well, he's got time in the sense of having a few balls to play with.
You were saying?
Running out of actual time.
Yeah, you were saying.
I think that's what's led to the trouble. We've seen that so many times when players have to rush a shot. That's often the position that's sacrificed.
That's unfortunate. Sometimes you do need a little bit of thinking time, you know, to play the right shot. That shot clock can be brutal at times, I have to say.
Does add to the drama for us though, and leads to the odd mistake that we wouldn't see if they had more time.
I'm happy with the shot clock when I'm in the commentary box. When I've got to go out there and play, I'd sooner not have it. Okay, so it looks like Karl's got a shot at this yellow, and as long as he catches it on the thick side, he can't really miss this. Because he's going off the 8 or the yellow if it doesn't go in clean, which it did. Not a great roll there, you have to say.
No, right now it's a frame that nobody can really quite get hold of.
I don't feel, I mean, except for the first frame where you could say that he was fortunate to, but played a great shot as well to get into the cluster, so I don't like to call him fortunate there, but except for that run of the ball, if you like, he's not had a great deal, has he, in all fairness. Yeah, you don't look too pleased with it, Karl, but it's not as bad as what you think.
No, if you were judging it purely from his body language, you'd say he'd left something easy, but when you look at the table, it's actually not too bad. Yeah.
He was trying to miss the 8 and hit the yellow, of course, and put it over the pocket, but it's not as bad as what I think he thought it was.
No, and his yellows are now sitting quite nicely if Dom needs a good shot here.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, great effort. Great effort.
Yeah, I mean, the
what an
options here
effort that
were pretty
was.
limited. Yeah.
Wow. So close to making that ball.
When it came off the cue, it looked good.
So Karl, big visit this, with everything that's gone on, and 3 each, everything's forgotten.
Yeah, I think if it goes to 3 each, they'll both be sort of happy with where they are. They could both know they could have won more, but that would probably be a fair reflection on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I don't think either player's necessarily warranted to be in front in the match.
Should be Karl that is ahead shortly. Well, sorry, levels it up, I should say, shortly.
Yeah, he just wants to kind of keep it high, but keep it on the natural here. He's just okay. He wants to kind of pot this without really working the cue ball to get the gap of the two reds to go to the top of the table. I think he can play it with a little bit of left-hand spin, just to kind of pull it up the line. He's hit the red. Oh, was he? No, sorry, I thought he'd hit the red. Great shot.
Yeah, he wasn't far away from hitting it, but he'll be very relieved to see it go straight past. Well, I think both players will be happy, as we say, with the scoreline, but I think Karl will definitely be more relieved with the scoreline, because there were moments in this frame he could easily have gone 4-2 behind. Ooh.
Oh. Drop it in, Karl. Drag it in.
Yeah, that's a surprising miss, and surprising he played it at that pace.
Drag it in.
Well, I was chalking that one up to him. It didn't look like he was going to miss the 8 after doing all the hard work.
Yeah, and he's convinced himself he had to stun it in.
Shot clock now in play.
Maybe fearing that he could pot the 8 and follow the cue ball through, but I don't think so.
No, I mean, this is a real let-off for Dom Cooney to be 4-2 up. If he can clear these last 3 balls, would be absolutely delighted.
He'd like that one again. There's a shot to play here. Probably spin it round the back of the 8. Caught it fat. I'm not convinced he played it in this pocket, but if he did, he did.
So one more good shot required.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's getting interesting, folks.
Yeah, no one wants this frame, do they?
Watch the cue ball. Keep an eye on the cue ball here. Nice pot.
Wow, that was a frame that could have gone either way multiple times over. 4-2 to Dom Cooney. He'll be by far the happier of the 2 players as he takes his seat after that clearance.
Karl Sutton will not believe what he's just done there. Cannot believe it.
Some of the 2 good safety shots that we're about to see that set up the opportunity. Second time playing in behind the 8 ball, as you called. And then followed it up with this shot, which was a somewhat less good safety shot. Either way, the damage was done much later on in the frame when he ended up inexplicably missing the 8 ball. So, Dom Cooney, a pretty big favourite now, 2 frames ahead and with less than 10 minutes on the match clock. Still plenty of time to play the requisite number of frames for Karl, but he's got to tighten up from that last frame if he wants to get over the winning line. We saw a very tense end to the previous match between Aaron Davis and Rob Warren.
He won't be happy with that rack.
No, he really won't.
He will not be happy with that.
Let's take another look at that. Wow, you could see it. I mean, you don't want to call out the referee. It's very tricky to get them touching all the time. Anyone that's ever played pool will know that sometimes it does just happen like that. But very frustrating for Karl, because what he wanted was just a nice quick frame to get himself back into the match.
So Dom's decided he's not having any of it. He's just played a safety shot.
Yeah, they just run out of time to think about it there.
Karl's at it as well here.
Well, no one wants the yellows, evidently.
Yeah, but I mean, Dom had an opportunity to take the reds and take some sort of command, in fairness. I mean, if you look at the way the balls sit, you know, there was plenty of scope to develop the reds there.
This is the kind of position where a 15-second time clock is pretty difficult.
Well, I mean, okay, he'd have had to have potted one, but two yellows were completely out of play. So he was 6 reds against 5 yellows at the bottom of the table, and he's the one that gets to play the first shot. So I do think that Dom had a chance there to take command. Whether I don't think he would be looking at the clock at this stage and thinking 4-2 was enough for the shot clock to determine anything.
No, I think if you were 3 ahead maybe, but not 2 ahead.
Yellow balls in play.
Oh well. It's now Dom that is in on the yellows.
And he's decided to have a dip now. I would suggest he just nestles the cue ball into that cluster and leaves this alone. Yeah, but he's left Karl the red here. I think he could have nestled that cue ball a little bit, kind of in amongst the pack. Yeah. I bet Dom wish he'd have potted a red now and tried to take control.
So Karl
Cannon the 8 ball here. Just slide off it towards the side cushion. Yeah, I mean, I know it's tough out there sometimes with that shot clock and whatever else, but Dom, you have to pot the red there and try and take control. And
yeah, it's amazing though with that shot clock. Some of the things you see, like people just
yeah, and that's it. You don't want to be too critical because you know we've all been out there and hacked a few balls around ourselves. You know, it's never missed a ball in here.
Either way, Karl will be very happy to be at the table and with a very good opportunity to get it back to only 1 behind.
Perfect.
Plenty of time on the clock. So if he gets us to 4-3, there's still 5 minutes, so plenty more in this match. So 4-3 it is. Well, strange last couple of frames. There have been some good shots and some unusual moments from both players.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not the execution or it's not the ability of the player, it's more the shot choice of the player. Like I said, don't want to be too critical because, you know, that shot clock's got to everybody at some point. You know, everyone's been caught out by it at some stage through playing out there. But it was strange for Dom to elect to play a safety, but then kind of have a little dip at the yellows when I didn't really feel like there was any need. More in a sense of a kind of an inconsistency in thought process.
Yeah, and I think that again is the shot clock. It leads to that inconsistency because a lot of players say you end up playing the first shot you see. You don't end up sort of considering all the options like you would normally. And the referee, Matt Ward, just spending a little bit longer racking the balls this time after that slightly loose rack in the last frame.
They wasn't amazing though either, was they, in all truth?
No, well, players tend to forget a bit more quickly when they pot a ball.
Yeah, very true.
Extension called.
So will he be tempted to play the yellow and just run through to the top cushion and then play the snooker in behind the yellow and push the red away?
Yeah, well, that seems like that would be the percentage option,
or is he having a dip here? He's tried to get there, hasn't he? He did try and get there, though, to be fair to him, to then push it away. Can he chip off it back in behind it?
The only thing with playing it that way rather than your shot is that you end up with the yellow tied up still at the end of the shot, whereas your shot you'd have...
I think he tried to. I think he tried to play what I'd suggested to get back there. Just didn't quite get there. Yeah, if that red drops and he plays the red top right and cannons that red out, that was over. Dom's just got to be a little bit careful here, otherwise he could see his lead go.
Loss of turn.
Well, that ball dropping doesn't massively change the outcome of the shot.
It doesn't change a lot, but it does change a little bit, because if Karl plays the turnover shot, Dom can play the turnover shot back. He couldn't have done that if that red would have stayed over the hole, but Guys, Karl looking to have a go. And that's not the worst nudge that you're ever going to see.
No.
And Dom knows it. Skill shot. Oh, Karl. Karl.
Loss of turn.
Not disaster, but can Dom play a clever little shot and get that red off the table?
Oh, he's going to do it quickly. He's got to do it quickly. God, the 15 seconds just catch up on you so fast.
I think he's got to. Can he screw off the yellow ball and pot the one over the pocket? No, he's not playing it. Okay, so now he's going to play it and screw the cue ball back underneath the 8 ball, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he's kind of out of balls though now, isn't he? He's sort of out of balls at Karl's on. He got to hit something. He may be able to play the plant up the side rail and snooker him at the same time. Can he? Can he not play the turnover shot here and snooker him at the same time? No. Could he, Mark? Could he? Could he have played the red onto the yellow and play the plant and play the turnover shot there?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think he was just a bit scared. Oh. Yeah, it sort of looked like he glanced at that and disregarded it.
He's got it. Well, he hasn't quite got it this time because he can't get such a good cue ball.
No, if you're going to play that shot, you've got to be absolutely sure you're not leaving the other yellow.
The only thing I can think of is if it's not set. Does he feel like it's not set? Does he feel like he doesn't have to play it? Is he happy with the yellow ball there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe it isn't quite set. The red's slightly off the cushion and the yellow isn't. This is a strange frame. We're going to watch a tactical battle play out at high speed here.
Yeah. I just wonder if Karl could have played that tactical shot.
I mean, from Dom's point of view, now it is getting to the stage when he can start managing the clock because there's only 1:15 left. And
well, if Dom can get through if he can get through the gap now, where he can just roll on to leave the ball on the cushion. Oh, he's left him an angle, has he?
Well, if Karl can find a way of clearing these up, we could be seeing a second 6-red shootout in as many games.
Yeah, it's coming.
54 seconds left. It's enough time. He's just got to get this ball out. How's his luck?
It's good.
Yeah, he's got space through this. So
6-red shootout, here we come, guys.
well, from our neutral position in the commentary box, I imagine that was exactly what we were rooting for. The players a little bit less so.
We wouldn't root for that, would we?
It's good fun, isn't it?
Well,
Gotta love a 6-red shootout if you're not playing.
This is it, folks. 6-red shootout, or a Dom Cooney win. Good luck, Karl. Oh, wow. Wow.
Could have been a 6-red shootout, but during that black, you hear the gong in the background. The match is suddenly over, just like that. Dom Cooney, who was probably mentally preparing himself to go to that shootout, is now celebrating the win.